I'm Charlotte McLeod with investingnews.com, and here today with me is John Feneck, portfolio manager and consultant at Feneck Consulting. Thank you so much for being here. Great to have you in person.
Thanks, Charlotte. Nice to be here.
Yes, so we are here at PDAC in person. We've made it to day 2, and where I want to start today is with the gold price. So
Sure.
if we look back to our previous conversation, we were talking at that very exciting January time, and you told us $5,000 gold was imminent, which it
Yep.
turned out to be. So let's start by getting your updated thoughts on the gold price. We're in, again, very interesting times right now for the market.
For sure. So yeah, we saw that 5,000 achieved after our interview in January. January 30th was sort of a smackdown on both gold and silver. No coincidence with month end. If you notice on the February 27th month end close, the shorts couldn't do anything. So it's really positive price action for both gold and silver in my view. But gold eclipsed at 55 to 5,600. It's going to retest that level and break through that, especially now because of the unfortunate situation with the Iranian war. And I am calling it a war because, they've gone after some really, some targets that weren't on everyone's list, right? Dubai hotels. This is crazy. This could have been much, much worse than it was over the weekend. And this as of this recording, nothing has been resolved. So if people don't own gold in their portfolio, they need to seriously think about why they don't. Maybe it's because they've made so much money in the S&P and the NASDAQ, over the last 16-year plus run, that they've become comfortable. But becoming comfortable in investing is dangerous. If you look at a chart of Apple, look at a chart of Tesla, those tickers are AAPL or TSLA. Look at a 1-year chart. Just draw a 12-month chart. You've made no money by buying and holding stocks that are household names, quote unquote, right? So I think it's going to be our time where gold equities start to become more household names over the next 1 to 3 years.
Well, that's one of the, I think, main topics of conversation that I've been having here at this event is that rotation may be starting from people who've made a lot of money in the tech sector starting
Yep.
to come over here. Are you seeing that already, or it's
Absolutely.
still? Yeah.
It's already happened. If you look at it as closely as I do every day, I'm tied to a computer 14 hours a day. Look at GDX as a proxy, right? September of 2022, that ETF bottomed. This is not a rally that started last year. The rally in producing names started in 2022. So if you look at some of the components of those, NEM, Newmont, Agnico, AEM, just go down a list. You can actually just Google search GDX holdings and you'll see what I mean if you take 10 minutes and pull these charts up. The easy money has been made in producing companies, in my view. We're not towards the end of the rally, but a lot of money has been made. What's going to happen now is that the developers and the explorers are going to start moving in a positive fashion, which hasn't really played out yet, which is amazing to me. So there's still a lot of value in our sector. You just have to know where to look. You have to own some producers, but you have to also drop down in capitalization to some of the smaller stuff.
Right, and of course, we'll get your updates there. Before we do, just briefly on silver. So we have a
Yep.
little bit of a picture on where you see the gold price going back up to that all-time high level and through it. What about the silver price?
Same thing. Silver peaked out around 120, 121. It crashed all the way down on January 30th and then didn't really do a great job of rebounding, but it did a good job of basing in February, right? So we call that consolidation. Silver consolidated its move from December, January in February, and now has based. It didn't get below, it got to 63.99 for a nanosecond, right? So it didn't crack through support. And that's what we point out to people is that 50 was the all-time high previously, right? That didn't even come close to getting touched. So now 50 in our view is the new floor, like 50 to 54. And we don't see those levels being touched unless there's a black swan. Now, what happened over the weekend was unprecedented. So you don't know what's going to happen in terms of price action as an investor. But my suggestion is don't get off the horse, right? This sector is on fire. This sector will continue to rally. So yeah, our target is, as I think I mentioned before, we were calling for $100 silver, then we said 133. So at 121 we were close. I think we get to 133. My partner Don Duret's at 150 to 175.
Okay, we'll keep an eye out for those, and I'm feeling much more accepting of these higher price levels for both gold and silver now. Let's get updates now on the gold and silver companies that you're looking at, and we're here at PDAC. There's many of them
Yep.
probably down on the show floor.
Yep. Sure. So we talked about Alkane Resources last time when you and I got together. That's done extremely well. That's ALKEF in the States, ALK in Canada. The reason I was a shareholder of Alkane is two reasons, really. One, I was a Mandalay shareholder. So when Mandalay and Alkane came together last year, I became an Alkane shareholder through meeting Nick at Beaver Creek, a conference just like this, right? Great conference in the U.S. in Colorado. And Nick really impressed me. He's like, we've got 3 producing mines in Australia and Sweden. We have a pristine balance sheet, 0 debt, and a ton of cash. That's what you want to look for as you're building portfolios. You know, you need stable stocks like this to own and then build risk around stability. That's what we call a hub and spoke structure in the portfolio management business. And that's something that we've employed since day one. So we really like Alkane. When you look at dropping down in capitalization to another producer that's much smaller, I just got back from a trip I was telling you off camera to Colombia. So I was in my first underground mine. Quite an experience in the sense that I have a lot more respect for what goes on day to day in an underground mine. It is tough work. I mean, and I visited Denarius Metals. So that's DNRSF in the States and DMET in Canada. Serafino Iacono, the chairman's been mining now for 40 years. He started many, many years ago. He was responsible for putting Segovia into production at Aris, which is now producing a ton of gold. What's interesting is that one of his operators is still working at Segovia, managing 1,800 to 2,000 people. And he has, Julio as part of his team at Denarius, a 70-cent stock. So here's a guy with 40 years experience, an operator with many, many years of experience in the field, and they're just growing this thing. Like the resource is unbelievably big. Like they have a lot of little mines throughout the region. So we didn't just stay in the underground mine, which was called Independencia. We also went to other parts of Colombia, all within, I'd say like a 30-minute drive. And most of it is paved roads. So the infrastructure's there. I met the mayor. The guy is very supportive of mining. Like the region is very supportive to begin with kind of an oppressive leader. So in May, they're going to have elections, and that leader's out for sure. So I think that Colombia as a country is moving more to the right, which is going to be supportive of mining.
Interesting. And it speaks to the value of site visits. You're not even the first person I've heard today talking about how going down into an underground mine changed kind of their perspective and all the work that goes into it. So really interesting. All right. So we usually spend a lot of time on gold and silver, but we said today we would look more closely at the special situations, in particular tungsten, which is pretty relevant right now due to the war defense angle. So we can talk about the companies in the sector, but maybe tell me a little bit about the tungsten space itself, because I think people wouldn't be so familiar with it, and I know the price is going up.
Yeah. So I'm, as always in our interviews, I don't script anything. I don't have any notes in front of me, so I'm going to go do the best I can off the top of my head. But the last mine in the U.S. production was 2015. That's 11 years ago. There has been no tungsten produced by U.S. companies since then. However, we're investing in a lot of the ones I'll mention in a minute that are based in Nevada, Idaho, et cetera, because they are the next wave. They're the next generation. And if you're in a wartime situation, as we may be entering, tungsten is used in armor, it's used in tanks, it's used in missiles, it's used in serious, type like piercing, bullets. Like, there's no replacement for it, right? That's what's interesting to me, because it's 84% produced in China. China is obviously close to Iran more than they are close to the U.S., right? So like they've stopped exporting it to friendly countries that they have, like Japan. Like there's no tungsten being sent anywhere. China has literally done a grab, and then you look at who else produces. It's Russia. It's like a list of people that or countries that you wouldn't suspect would be like, yes, here you go to United States, here's some tungsten for you. Like, so you could see and this is a real like 1% chance as we sit here right now, but you could see President Trump say, look, we're going to fast track all this stuff, right? Like, I mean, why not? I mean, I just met with one here, Spartan Metals, SPRMF in the States and W in Canada. And these guys are 7 years from production as we record this. If you get fast tracked, you're 3.5 years possibly away from production. It's a game changer. This is a 40-cent US stock. Like, there's so much upside in some of these names because they're in the right part of the world, and they're doing the work. So Spartan Metals is one that we just started to put a position on. Our two biggest holdings we've mentioned on your show a couple of times. So that is Guardian Metal. That's a GMTLF in the States, GMET.L in London. And stock's been on fire. I mean, it just hit $4 on Friday. It's trading around $3.83 as we record this. It's our biggest equity holding in full disclosure. I've known Oliver for a couple of years now. He's a really sharp young CEO, and he is in Nevada, right? Like Spartan. The other one was American Tungsten, and that's TUNGF in the States and TUNG in Canada. They're in Idaho. So, they're raising a lot of money. They've got a really nice cash position. They've put out some really good news here in the last couple of months, and I think both Guardian and American Tungsten are going to uplist. Uplisting means that you move from the OTC in the US to the NYSE or NASDAQ, right? That brings in a lot of liquidity into a sector that, as you just stated, is kind of not well known, right? So brokers, high net worth people want liquidity, right? That's one of their biggest things as I talk to people every week. And you get more liquidity being on better exchanges. So those are three names. Also, I just met with Western Star Resources last night. That's WSR. And I believe in the States it's WSRIF. These guys are in Nevada as well. Just, again, trading at like a ridiculously low valuation. Very, very tight share structure. So they're basically at 1.5 million shares in the public float. So I think there's a lot of things that people are just missing here. I mean, we've been talking about this for over 2 years.
Well, yeah, now it's really developing. So hopefully people were in it before now. And just a quick follow-up on the fast tracking, because we know that projects can be fast tracked. People might not know exactly what that means. So that could cut the time to production in half in some cases.
Yeah. So here's an example for you. Paramount Gold, PZG, Rachel Goldman, great CEO. She really struggled in Oregon with the process, not struggle because of the deposit. It's the permitting process that wears these CEOs down, right? It takes a long time, years. When she got fast-tracked in April of 2025, she just announced life-changing news for that company January 29th because she got fast-tracked. It took 9 months to get what she needed in terms of federal permitting, right? That really sped up the project. But what did it do for the share price? It went from about 60 cents US to $2.60 US. I mean, this is the stock's reacting to that news. That's why I think these tungsten companies are next in terms of getting non-dilutive action from the US government.
Well, yeah, and it does feel like we're one tweet away from something possibly happening. All right. Well, our time is short, unfortunately, here.
No problem.
Do you have any final thoughts to share with the audience? Any things that you're watching before I let you go?
Well, I'll just mention two things quickly. You've been kind enough to put stuff in the show notes about our U.S. conferences.
It's coming up.
Those are coming up May 17 through 19 in D.C., May 20 through 22 in Florida. There'll be information in the show notes again. This is everyone's last chance. We're getting inundated with requests because of what's happening with Iran. So if people want to qualify to attend, now's the time to ask me. My email will be in the show notes as well. And then lastly, my partner Don Durrett and I just decided today to do a webinar for clients. We're always trying to give back to clients, do things that are nominally priced. So for $199, we're doing a 2-hour webinar talking about specifically gold and silver stocks to educate people on our process, right? How do we screen for some of the names we talked about today?
Perfect. Well, we will have all of your links in the video description as usual, and the company tickers, because people always want to know those. Thank you so much for coming on to talk. This was great to have you in person.
Thanks a lot, Charlotte.
Of course. And once again, I'm Charlotte McLeod with investingnews.com, and this is John Feneck.